In the quiet corners of our minds, as the world around us fades into the comforting embrace of darkness, we often find ourselves seeking something deeper, a story, a legend, something to carry us away from the waking world into a realm of wonder and understanding. It is here, in this peaceful space between wakefulness and sleep, that mythology can offer us a place of refuge, a timeless source of comfort. Myths, ancient and universal, have long been woven into the fabric of human culture, offering explanations for the world around us, for the mysteries of life, death, and the very essence of our existence. They are more than just stories. They are reflections of our collective unconscious, dreams made manifest through the voices of gods, heroes, and spirits. For many, myths are the lullabies of the past, their intricate narratives soothing the mind as we drift toward slumber. In a world that is often loud, fast, and chaotic, the quiet, deliberate pace of mythology can act as a balm, calming the restless thoughts that keep us awake at night. As we embark on this journey through the mythologies of the world, we'll uncover the stories that cultures have used for centuries to explain the inexplicable, to give meaning to the unexplainable. But we will do so slowly, in a way that invites relaxation, in a manner that encourages the mind to ease, to let go of the day's worries, and to embrace the gentle flow of ancient tales. Mythology, in its simplest form, is a collection of stories about the gods, the universe, and humanity's place within it. These stories served as a way for early humans to make sense of the world, to understand the forces of nature, and to navigate the complexities of human existence. From the celestial rhythms of the moon and stars to the unpredictable winds that swept across the seas, myths provided a framework, a narrative structure, for explaining the mysteries of life. They personified these forces, giving them names, faces, and personalities. The gods became powerful figures who controlled the elements, who shaped the seasons, who influenced the rise and fall of civilizations. Heroes, too, emerged from these stories, individuals who faced extraordinary challenges, battled monstrous creatures, and overcame impossible odds. Through their struggles, they demonstrated the values, virtues, and ideals that each culture held dear. But beyond their role in explaining the natural world, myths also serve as a form of moral instruction, guiding individuals through the challenges of life. They taught lessons about love, sacrifice, courage, betrayal, and redemption. Myths held a mirror to human nature, reflecting both the light and the shadow within us. In these stories, we saw ourselves, our fears, our desires, our hopes, and our flaws. And just as in dreams, where we confront the mysteries of our subconscious, mythology offers space for individuals and communities to grapple with their inner worlds, their values, and their collective identity. As we look across the globe, it becomes clear that mythologies are not just relics of the past, but are intricately woven into the fabric of modern life. The gods and legends of ancient cultures continue to inspire art, literature, and even popular culture today. From the movies we watch to the books we read, elements of mythology are deeply embedded in the stories that captivate our imaginations. In fact, mythology often serves as a foundation for much of our collective storytelling. But there is something uniquely comforting about returning to the ancient roots of these tales, especially in moments when we seek a deeper connection with the world, a more profound understanding of the mysteries of existence. This connection to myth is not merely intellectual. It is deeply emotional and spiritual. It is why so many of us turn to the myths of our ancestors during moments of reflection, when we are seeking solace, understanding, or simply a break from the demands of daily life. The calm rhythm of mythological storytelling has a particular way of settling the mind, allowing us to slow down, to breathe, and to listen, not just with our ears but with our hearts. It is this quality of mythology that makes it so ideal for moments when we are winding down, preparing for rest, or simply looking for something to gently carry us away from the concerns of the waking world. And so, as we venture through the diverse mythologies of the world in this video, we will not only explore the gods, heroes, and monsters that inhabit these stories, but we will do so in a way that honors the quiet, reflective nature of sleep. Our aim is not to rush through these tales, but to let them unfold slowly, to allow each story to linger in the mind like a distant dream. The slow, deliberate pace of our journey will mirror the way we ease into sleep, gradually letting go of the day's thoughts, slipping deeper into a state of peace, and eventually surrendering to the calm embrace of rest. Each mythology we encounter will be a gentle invitation to pause, to breathe, and to reflect. From the mighty gods of the Greek pantheon to the celestial beings of Chinese mythology, from the creation stories of the Native Americans to the ancient Egyptian legends of life and death, we will move through these tales with the same gentle rhythm that carries us into slumber. There is no need for urgency, no need for excitement. Instead, we will simply allow each story to take its time, to unfold at its own pace. For the viewer, this journey through mythology is not just about learning ancient facts or hearing stories. It is about creating a space for relaxation, a moment of stillness in an otherwise fast-paced world. It is about letting the calming cadence of mythological storytelling guide us into a state of rest, where the mind is free from distractions and the soul can reconnect with the timeless wisdom of these ancient stories. So, let us begin this journey together, slowly, calmly, and with a sense of reverence for the myths that have shaped human history. Let these stories unfold in a way that brings you peace, that allows you to reflect on the world and your place within it, and that gently guides you toward the restful sleep that lies just beyond the horizon of this tale. In the earliest days of human history, when the world was vast, unknown, and filled with mystery, our ancestors sought to understand the forces around them. The sun that rose each day, the rains that nourished the earth, the winds that howled through the night. These were not just natural phenomena. They were powerful, inexplicable forces that could shape life and death. In the absence of modern science and technology, the world was seen through the lens of wonder, fear, and awe. The unknown became fertile ground for stories, and these stories, passed down from generation to generation, grew into what we now call myths. The birth of mythology is tied to the human need to explain the world around us. Long before the advent of written language, humans relied on oral traditions to communicate, share knowledge, and preserve history. Stories were not simply entertainment. They were vital tools for understanding life itself. Myths were created as ways to explain the natural world, to make sense of things that seem beyond comprehension. When the seasons changed, when lightning struck, when crops failed or thrived, ancient peoples turned to stories to explain these events. The gods, spirits, and supernatural beings of mythology emerged as explanations for these mysterious occurrences. They became the architects of the world, the ones who control the forces of nature and who, in many ways, determine the fate of humankind. These early myths were not limited to any one culture or region. They were universal. Though the gods and stories differed, the fundamental themes remained the same. Every culture had its own pantheon of gods, each with specific powers and responsibilities. In Greece, for instance, Zeus reigned over the sky, Poseidon controlled the seas, and Hades ruled the underworld. In Egypt, Ra was the sun god, while Osiris governed the afterlife. In other cultures, gods and spirits were connected to the earth, the sun, the moon, and animals. In this way, myths offer means of connecting humanity with the cosmos, of making the vast and mysterious universe feel just a little bit more knowable and manageable. These myths were not born out of thin air. They arose from the collective experiences and observations of the people who created them. Early humans were keenly aware of their surroundings, attuned to the rhythms of nature and the cycles of life. They watched the stars move across the sky, noting the patterns of constellations, the phases of the moon, and the changing of the seasons. These celestial bodies were not mere points of light in the sky. They were powerful, living entities, imbued with divine significance. When the sun rose in the morning, it was not just a natural event. It was a manifestation of the divine will. The moon's phases were not simply a celestial phenomenon. They were tied to the ebb and flow of human life. Myths were born out of these observations, giving form to the abstract forces of nature that were otherwise beyond comprehension. But mythology was not just a way to explain natural events. It also served as a vehicle for understanding human nature. Myths provide a framework for understanding human behavior, morality, and existence. Through stories of gods, heroes, and monsters, early humans were able to explore the complex range of emotions and experiences that define the human condition. Love, hate, jealousy, bravery, betrayal, and redemption. These were themes that transcended cultures and time periods. The gods, in many ways, reflected human traits, both noble and flawed. The stories told of gods who were capricious, kind, vengeful, loving, and cruel, just as humans themselves could be. In this way, myths offered a mirror to human psyche. helping to make sense of the complex and often contradictory nature of life. At the same time, these myths also served as moral lessons, teaching people how to behave, what was right and wrong, and how to live in harmony with others and with the world. They provided models of heroism and virtue, and warned of the dangers of hubris and greed. The stories of heroes, such as Heracles in Greek mythology or the Epic of Gilgamesh, were not just about individual feats of strength or courage. They were about the values that these heroes embodied. These tales taught the importance of honor, duty, loyalty, and respect. They illustrated the consequences of reckless behavior, the cost of defying the gods, and the necessity of humility. One of the most fascinating aspects of mythology is that, while it served a practical function in early societies, offering explanations and moral teachings, it also had a deeply emotional and spiritual significance. Myths were a way to connect with the divine, to commune with the gods, and seek their favor or guidance. Rituals and ceremonies, many of which were tied to specific myths, allowed individuals and communities to feel a sense of closeness to the divine world. Whether through offerings, prayers, or sacrifices, people sought to maintain a balance with the gods, to ensure that the forces of nature would remain favorable and that their lives would be blessed with prosperity and peace. As societies became more complex and civilizations began to form, the role of myth evolved. What had once been simple explanations of natural phenomena grew more elaborate, more structured, and more formalized. The pantheon of gods expanded, and the myths became more intricate, with stories interweaving across generations. These myths were no longer just a domain of priests and shamans. They became central to the identity of nations and peoples. In ancient Greece, for example, the myths of the gods were not just religious stories. They were the foundation of Greek identity. The myths shaped the culture, the politics, and philosophy of the Greek world. The gods were not only worshipped, they were revered as the creators and protectors of the Greek way of life. The ancient Romans, too, adapted and adopted Greek myths, weaving them into their own cultural fabric. In fact, many of the gods of Rome, Jupiter, Venus, Mars, are directly descended from their Greek counterparts. The spread of these myths across the Mediterranean world is a testament to the power of storytelling and the universality of the human desire to explain and understand the world. As time went on, mythology began to evolve further. With the rise of written language, myths were transcribed, preserving them for future generations. Ancient epics, such as the Iliad and the Odyssey in Greece or the Aeneid in Rome, became literary treasures that would continue to influence cultures for centuries. The written word allowed these myths to transcend the limitations of oral tradition, allowing them to be shared across distances and time periods. Yet, despite the advancement of civilization, mythology remained an essential part of human culture. Even in the modern world, where science and reason dominate much of our understanding of the universe, myths continue to play a vital role in our lives. They provide a sense of continuity, a link to our past, and a way to understand our place in the cosmos. In many ways, the myths of ancient civilizations are still alive today, woven into the fabric of modern storytelling, from literature and film to art and music. The gods, heroes, and monsters of old still capture our imaginations, reminding us that the mysteries of life, death, and existence are as relevant today as they were millennia ago. As we journey through the myths of different cultures in this video, we will see how each civilization, in its unique way, created its own set of stories to explain the world. From the gods of Greece to the deities of India, from the heroes of Mesopotamia to the spirits of Native America, we will encounter a rich tapestry of stories that continue to shape our collective consciousness. And in doing so, we will find that these ancient myths, born from the desire to explain the inexplicable, still hold lessons for us today. Greek mythology, with its colorful and dramatic tales, is one of the most enduring and influential mythological traditions in human history. The ancient Greeks, renowned for their exploration of human nature, constructed a world in which gods, heroes, and monsters coexisted, their fates intertwined with the lives of mortals. These myths were not only stories of adventure and battle, but also reflections on complexities of life, the duality of human nature, and the mysteries of existence itself. As we venture to the world of Greek mythology, we will encounter gods who personify natural forces, heroes who embody virtues and vices, and monsters that challenge the boundaries between the human and the divine. But we will also find in the gentlest corners of these stories, profound wisdom about the human condition and the world around us. At the heart of Greek mythology stands a pantheon of gods, a family of divine beings who govern all aspects of life. The Greeks saw their gods not as omnipotent and all-knowing beings, but as powerful yet deeply human figures. They could be capricious, jealous, vengeful, loving, and even flawed. They often mirrored the very best and worst qualities of humanity, reflecting the complexities of existence. These gods lived in a celestial realm known as Mount Olympus, a place high above the earth where they could observe and intervene in the lives of humans. But despite their divine nature, these gods were not distant, untouchable figures. They had personalities, desires, and motives that made them relatable and, at times, even unpredictable. Zeus, the king of the gods, ruled over the heavens with a thunderbolt in his hand. His power was unmatched, and yet he was far from perfect. Known for his many romantic escapades, Zeus often found himself embroiled in conflicts and moral dilemmas. His rule was challenged by his own family, with his siblings Hera, Poseidon, and Hades, each controlling different realms of existence. Hera, his wife and sister, was a goddess of marriage and family, but she was also known for her jealousy and wrath, especially when it came to Zeus's many lovers and their offspring. Poseidon, the god of the sea, wielded a trident and had dominion over the oceans, earthquakes, and horses. His temperament was as unpredictable as the sea itself, calm one moment and furious the next. Hades, the god of the underworld, ruled the realm of the dead, overseeing the souls of the departed and the riches beneath the earth. Though often portrayed as stern and gloomy, Hades was not the evil figure that many believe him to be. Rather, he was simply a god whose domain was far removed from the joys of the living. In the vast cosmic order of Greek mythology, these gods were not alone. There were countless other deities, spirits, and divine beings, each with a specific role to play. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, guided heroes with her counsel and strategy. Apollo, the god of the sun and music, illuminated the world with his radiant light and inspired creativity. Artemis, his twin sister, was the goddess of the moon and the hunt, protector of wild animals and young women. Then there was Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty, whose power could stir even the hearts of the gods themselves. The Greeks saw these gods as forces that shaped not only the physical world, but also the emotional and psychological landscape of human life. They were not abstract entities. They were intimately involved in the joys and struggles of mortals. But Greek mythology was not just about the gods. The stories that have been passed down through the centuries also feature a rich tapestry of mortal heroes, individuals who, despite their flaws and limitations, were called to perform great deeds. These heroes, often bore divine parentage, were gifted with extraordinary abilities, yet they were still bound by human frailty. Heracles, one of the most famous heroes, was known for his incredible strength and his 12 labors, tasks that were seemingly impossible yet carried out with determination and bravery. These labors were not just tests of physical strength, but also lessons in perseverance, humility, and redemption. In many ways, Heracles embodies the struggle of every person who must face their own challenges in life, and his story continues to resonate as a metaphor for overcoming adversity. Other heroes like Perseus, who defeated the Gorgon Medusa, and Theseus, who slayed the Minotaur, also represent the timeless theme of courage and triumph over monstrous challenges. Yet, despite their heroic feats, these individuals often face tragic ends or struggle with inner demons. For example, the story of Achilles, the greatest of the Greek warriors, is not just one of glory on the battlefield, but also one of profound personal conflict. In the Iliad, Homer paints a portrait of a man who is consumed by anger and vengeance, torn between his honor as a warrior and his own human vulnerability. Achilles' eventual fate, his death at the hands of Paris, serves as a reminder that even the mightiest heroes are subject to the will of the gods and the fragility of life. But perhaps one of the most important lessons in Greek mythology is the notion of fate, an inexorable force that shapes the lives of gods and mortals alike. The Moirai, or Fates, were 3 goddesses who control the destinies of all living beings, from the gods to the lowliest mortal. Clotho spun the thread of life, Lachesis measured its length, and Atropos cut it, determining the moment of death. Even the gods, despite their power, were subject to the Fates, unable to alter the course of destiny. This idea of fate is a key element in many Greek myths and reflects a belief that no matter how much we may struggle, there are forces beyond our control that shape the course of our lives. Yet, this acceptance of fate does not necessarily lead to passivity. In Greek mythology, characters often strive against their destinies, making bold choices in an attempt to change their outcomes. This tension between free will and fate is one of the central themes that permeates the stories of the gods and heroes. While Greek mythology is often remembered for its dramatic tales of gods and heroes, it is also deeply connected to the natural world and the cycles of life. The Greeks personified the forces of nature, believing that gods like Demeter, the goddess of agriculture, and Dionysus, the god of wine and ecstasy, were directly responsible for the seasons, the harvest, and the vitality of the earth. The myths that involve these deities often reflect the changing patterns of the natural world, illustrating the delicate balance between life and death, growth and decay. Through these stories, the Greeks sought to explain the rhythms of the earth, the passing of the seasons, and the relationship between humanity and the environment. As we move through these stories, it becomes clear that Greek mythology was not just an attempt to explain the world. It was an exploration of the human experience itself. The gods, heroes, and creatures of Greek myth offer profound insights into human emotions, desires, and fears. They reflect our struggles with love, loss, ambition, and mortality. They teach us about the complexities of power and responsibility, about the consequences of our actions, and about the importance of understanding our place in the universe. Greek mythology, then, is more than just a collection of stories. It is a lens through which we can explore our own lives. By immersing ourselves in the myths of the ancient Greeks, we can come to understand the universal truths that continue to shape human existence. In the end, the gods may be distant, their reigns long past, but their stories still resonate with us. They offer timeless lessons on what it means to be human, and in their eternal drama, we find echoes of our own struggles, triumphs, and aspirations. In the wind-swept northern lands, where the snow-capped mountains meet the dark forests and the long, cold winters seem to stretch on forever, the ancient Norse people crafted their own mythology. The Norse gods, with their fierce strength, complicated relationships, and vast, mysterious realms, paint a picture of a world as wild and untamed as the northern wilderness itself. These gods, both revered and feared, represented the raw forces of nature: storms, fire, the sea, and death. The Norse pantheon is not simply a collection of divine figures. It is a reflection of the harsh realities of the world in which the Vikings lived, a world where survival was never guaranteed, where the line between life and death was often thin, and where the gods themselves were not immune to fate's unyielding grasp. At the center of this pantheon stands Odin, the All-Father, king of the gods and the god of wisdom, war, and poetry. Odin's domain is vast, stretching from the heavens to the deepest, darkest realms of existence. He is a god of contradictions, both wise and ruthless, both a seeker of knowledge and a harbinger of war. Known for his relentless quest for wisdom, Odin gave up one of his eyes in exchange for a drink from the well of knowledge, a sacrifice that symbolizes his unending thirst for understanding. His wisdom, however, came at a cost. Odin is a god who understands the inevitability of fate, and he often looks into the future with both foresight and sorrow, knowing that the world he loves will eventually come to an end in the cataclysmic event known as Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods. Though Odin is a god of great power, he is not without his vulnerabilities. His pursuit of knowledge often isolates him, and the wisdom he gains brings him no comfort in the face of the inevitable destruction of the world. Odin's relationship with his family is also complex. His wife, Frigg, the goddess of love and motherhood, stands as a counterbalance to his darker qualities, offering warmth and protection. Together, they represent a duality, Odin with his brooding intelligence and Frigg with her nurturing spirit. Yet even Frigg, who is capable of great foresight, is unable to prevent the tragic fate that awaits her son, Balder, whose death marks the beginning of the end for the gods. Balder's death is one of the most poignant and tragic stories in Norse mythology. Balder, the god of light, beauty, and goodness, was loved by all the gods and mortals alike. His death, brought about by Loki's trickery, is a catalyst of the events that will lead to Ragnarok. Loki, the trickster god, is a figure of great complexity. Though he is a blood brother to Odin, Loki's mischief often leads to chaos and destruction. His ability to shift between shapes and his unpredictable nature make him both fascinating and dangerous. Loki is not a god of great power in the traditional sense, but his intelligence and cunning make him a central figure in many of the myths. His ultimate betrayal, the murder of Balder, sets the stage for Ragnarok and demonstrates that even the gods are vulnerable to treachery and betrayal. Another prominent figure in the Norse pantheon is Thor, the god of thunder and protector of mankind. Thor, with his mighty hammer, Mjolnir, embodies strength, bravery, and loyalty. He is the son of Odin and Jord, the earth goddess, and his role as a protector of both gods and mortals is central to many myths. Thor's battles with giants, monsters, and other fearsome creatures are legendary, and he is often portrayed as a god who embodies the warrior spirit. However, despite his immense strength, Thor is also depicted as a god who must confront his own limitations. His struggles with the forces of chaos, his occasional bouts of foolishness, and his vulnerability to the power of fate all serve to remind us that even the mightiest of gods are not invincible. The relationship between Thor and the giants is particularly significant in Norse mythology. The giants, or Jotnar, are not purely evil beings. Rather, they represent the forces of chaos and destruction that stand in opposition to the order of the gods. Thor's constant battles with the giants symbolize the ongoing struggle between order and chaos, between creation and destruction. In many ways, Thor's role as a protector of the gods and humans is a reflection of the Viking worldview, a worldview shaped by the harsh realities of life in the North, where survival was a constant battle against the forces of nature. Then there is Loki's offspring, the monstrous wolf Fenrir, who plays a crucial role in mythology surrounding Ragnarok. Fenrir's eventual betrayal of the gods is a powerful symbol of the destructive power of fate. Raised by the gods in Asgard, Fenrir grew so powerful that the gods eventually bound him with a magical chain. It was foretold that Fenrir would break free during Ragnarok and devour Odin, his own father, marking the end of the gods' reign. Fenrir's story is a reminder of the inevitability of fate and the sense of helplessness that even the gods feel in the face of it. The Norse pantheon also includes a host of other gods and figures who play important roles in shaping the world. Freya, the goddess of love, fertility, and war, is a key figure in the mythology. She is associated with beauty and sensuality, but also with death and the afterlife. Freya rides a chariot drawn by two cats and is often depicted as a fierce warrior goddess. Her role as a goddess of both love and war reflects the duality of life itself, where beauty and destruction often coexist. Freya's pursuit of the powerful necklace of the Brisingamen, a symbol of both her beauty and her power, underscores the idea that love and strength are not mutually exclusive, but rather intertwined in the Norse view of the world. In addition to the gods, there are also numerous other figures in Norse mythology who represent the different forces of nature. Yggdrasil, the great world tree, stands at the center of the cosmos, connecting the 9 realms of Norse mythology. These realms, each with their own characteristics, are connected by the tree, which serves as a symbolic axis of the universe. The world tree itself is a reflection of the interconnectedness of all things in Norse cosmology, where every action has consequences, and the fate of one realm can affect the fate of all. As we consider the Norse pantheon, it becomes clear that the gods were not seen as perfect beings, but rather as figures who, like humans, were subject to the same forces of fate, love, and loss. Their relationships were complicated, their actions often driven by both noble intentions and personal flaws. The myths in which they feature are not simple tales of good versus evil, but complex stories that explore the gray areas of existence. The gods' struggles with their own vulnerabilities, their challenges with destiny, and their eventual fall to the forces of chaos and Ragnarok are poignant reminders of the impermanence of all things. Even the gods, as mighty as they are, must face the inevitable end of the world. Ragnarok itself is one of the most powerful and evocative stories in Norse mythology. It is the end of the world, a great battle in which the gods will be destroyed, the realms will collapse, and a new world will rise from the ashes. It is a story of destruction, yes, but also of renewal. It symbolizes the cyclical nature of life, death, and rebirth, a theme that runs deeply through Norse cosmology. The gods may die, but the world will not end forever. From the destruction will come a new beginning, just as a long winter gives way to the rebirth of spring. The Norse gods, with their fierce personalities, their battles with fate, and their acceptance of the inevitability of death, offer us valuable lessons about resilience, bravery, and the complex nature of life itself. They remind us that even in the face of great darkness, there is always a potential for new beginnings. In the golden sand of Egypt, beneath the gaze of the eternal pyramids and the ever-flowing Nile, an ancient civilization once thrived. Their mythology, a vibrant tapestry of gods, goddesses, and eternal truths, sought to explain profound mysteries of life, death, and the afterlife. Unlike many other mythologies, Egyptian mythology is deeply entwined with the cyclical rhythms of nature and the belief in the eternal cycle of life. It is a mythology that speaks not only to the grandeur of the gods, but also to the human experience. The quest for immortality, the struggle against chaos, and the understanding that death is not the end, but a transition into something greater. At the heart of Egyptian mythology stand the god Osiris, whose story is one of death, resurrection, and eternal life. Osiris is the god of the afterlife, the ruler of the underworld, and the one who judges the souls of the deceased. His story is both tragic and redemptive. Osiris was once a living king, beloved by his people, ruling over Egypt with wisdom and fairness. His wife, Isis, was a goddess of magic and motherhood, and together they ruled in harmony. However, Osiris's brother, Set, the god of chaos and disorder, was consumed with jealousy and envy. Set's hatred for Osiris led him to plot his brother's demise, and in a cruel act of treachery, he trapped Osiris in a coffin and cast it into the Nile, where it was carried away and eventually became entombed in a tree. Isis, devastated by the loss of her husband, embarked on a perilous journey to find his body. With the help of her magic, she was able to resurrect Osiris, but not to return him to life in the mortal world. Instead, Osiris became the ruler of the afterlife, presiding over the souls of the dead. His resurrection symbolized the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth, a theme that runs deep in Egyptian belief. Osiris' story is a powerful metaphor for the belief in immortality and the idea that death is not an end, but passage to another realm, one where the soul lives on. But it was not only Osiris who played a pivotal role in Egyptian mythology. The goddess Isis, with her magical powers, was also central to the story of life and death. She was a protector of the living and the dead, a mother figure who cared for her son, Horus, the god of the sky and kingship. Horus's role in Egyptian mythology is of great significance, for he embodies the ideal of kingship and the eternal struggle for justice and order. Horus, the son of Osiris and Isis, avenged his father's death by defeating Set, symbolizing the triumph of good over evil, order over chaos. Horus's victory over Set was not just a personal triumph. It was a cosmic victory that restored balance and order to the world. This myth reflects the Egyptians' deep understanding of the importance of balance in all things, whether it be in the natural world, society, or the realm of the divine. The idea of balance is central to Egyptian mythology, and it is personified in the goddess Ma'at. Ma'at represents truth, justice, and cosmic order, and she is often depicted as a woman with an ostrich feather in her hair. In the Egyptian worldview, the universe was a delicate balance between order, Ma'at, and chaos, Isfet. The gods were seen as the guardians of this balance, maintaining harmony in the world and ensuring that life continued in its proper rhythm. It was believed that every action had consequences, and that to live in accordance with Ma'at was to live in harmony with the universe. This concept of cosmic order is most clearly seen in the weighing of the heart ritual, which occurred in the afterlife. In the Egyptian afterlife, the soul of the deceased was judged by Osiris and the gods in a process known as the weighing of the heart. The deceased's heart, which was believed to be the seat of the soul and the source of a person's character, was weighed against the feather of Ma'at, representing truth and justice. If the heart was light, free of sin and wrongdoing, the soul was allowed to enter the blissful realm of the field of reeds, where the deceased could live in eternal peace, enjoying the pleasures of an idyllic afterlife. However, if the heart was heavy with sin, the soul would be devoured by Ammit, a fearsome creature with the head of a crocodile, the body of a lion, and the hindquarters of a hippopotamus. This judgment symbolized the Egyptians' belief in moral responsibility and the importance of living a life that was in alignment with cosmic order. It was a reminder that the choices we make in life matter, and that our actions have consequences beyond the mortal realm. In addition to Osiris, Other gods and goddesses played important roles in the Egyptian view of the afterlife. Anubis, the god of embalming and mummification, was responsible for preparing the deceased for their journey to the afterlife. Anubis was often depicted as a man with the head of a jackal, and his role was to guide the souls of the dead through the perilous journey to the underworld. His connection to mummification highlights the Egyptians' belief in the preservation of the body for the afterlife. For the ancient Egyptians, the body was not simply a temporary vessel. It was a sacred object that needed to be carefully preserved to ensure the soul's safe passage into the next world. The Egyptian concept of the afterlife was also deeply tied to the belief in the importance of the physical world. Unlike some other cultures, where the afterlife was seen as a place of escape or transcendence, the Egyptians viewed the afterlife as a continuation of life, albeit in a different form. The field of reeds, the paradise where the soul could rest, was a perfect reflection of the earthly life the deceased had known, filled with lush gardens, flowing rivers, and abundance. This view of the afterlife as a continuation of the joys and pleasures of earthly life speaks to the Egyptians' deep connection to the physical world and their reverence for the cycles of nature. But death, as much as it was a transition, was also seen as a mystery, one that held both fear and hope. The Egyptians understood that death was inevitable, but they also believed that the soul had the potential to be reborn. The mythology surrounding the death and resurrection of Osiris encapsulates this belief in the possibility of renewal and regeneration. Osiris's death, followed by his resurrection, symbolized not only the cyclical nature of life, but also the hope that death was not an end but a transformation. This belief was closely tied to the rhythms of nature, particularly the flooding of the Nile, which was a life-giving force for the Egyptian people. The annual flooding of the river, which brought fertile soil and ensured the survival of crops, was seen as a symbol of death and rebirth. Just as the land was reborn each year, so too could the soul be reborn in the afterlife. In Egyptian mythology, the journey to the afterlife was not just a personal one. It was a collective experience. The dead were often accompanied by family members, priests, and offerings to ensure a safe passage. The tombs of the pharaohs, with their elaborate burial rituals and treasures, reflect the importance of the afterlife in Egyptian culture. The dead were not simply remembered. They were cared for, honored, and provided for in the hope that their souls would find peace and prosperity in the next world. As we explore the rich and intricate myths of ancient Egypt, we come to understand that their belief system was rooted in a deep reverence for life, death, and the eternal cycle of existence. The gods, with their complex roles in the afterlife, offered hope and guidance to the living, assuring them that death was not something to fear, but something to embrace as a part of the natural order. Through the myths of Osiris, Isis, Horus, and Anubis, the ancient Egyptians created a worldview that celebrated both the beauty of life and the mystery of death, understanding that both are inextricably linked in the grand tapestry of existence. In this way, Egyptian mythology offers not just stories, but a spiritual guide to living and dying with purpose, meaning, and an eternal connection to the gods. In the vast, intricate web of Hindu mythology, we encounter a world where the divine is ever present, and the forces of creation, preservation, and destruction shape the universe in an endless cycle. This mythology is one of the oldest and most complex systems of belief, a tradition that spans thousands of years, weaving together countless stories of gods, goddesses, demons, sages, and cosmic forces. At its heart, Hindu mythology seeks to explain the nature of existence, the purpose of life, and the intricate balance between the physical and spiritual realms. It speaks to the profound interconnectedness of all things, the eternal dance of creation and destruction, and the understanding that life itself is a cyclical process, constantly in flux. The Hindu pantheon is rich and diverse, with a multitude of gods and goddesses who embody different aspects of the universe. At the top of this divine hierarchy is Brahman, the ultimate reality, the formless, all-encompassing source of everything. Brahman is not a god in the traditional sense, but the essence of existence itself, beyond form, beyond time, beyond comprehension. Everything in the universe, both seen and unseen, emanates from Brahman. It is a primal force that connects all beings, and yet it transcends everything. From Brahman, three principal deities emerge, each representing a fundamental aspect of the cosmos: Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Brahma, the creator god, is responsible for the creation of the universe and all living beings. Though not as widely worshipped as Vishnu and Shiva, Brahma's role in Hindu mythology is critical. He is often depicted with four faces, each one gazing in a different direction, symbolizing his ability to oversee all of creation. Brahma is the architect of the world, the divine craftsman who gives shape to the cosmos. But as with many aspects of Hindu mythology, his role is not static. Brahma's work of creation is ever evolving, and his task is to ensure that the world continues to evolve and change. Vishnu, the preserver and protector of the universe, is perhaps the most beloved and widely worshipped of all the Hindu gods. Vishnu is often depicted as a serene, compassionate deity who descends to the earth in various incarnations or avatars to restore cosmic order whenever it is threatened. His most famous avatars are those of Rama and Krishna, both of whom play pivotal roles in Hindu epic literature. Vishnu's avatars embody the virtues of righteousness, compassion, and selflessness, and they serve as models of how humans should live their lives. In the Ramayana, Lord Rama's journey to rescue his wife Sita from the demon king Ravana is a tale of courage, duty, and devotion, while in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna imparts timeless wisdom to the warrior Arjuna, teaching him about duty, righteousness, and the nature of the self. Shiva, the god of destruction and transformation, is another central figure in Hindu mythology. Shiva is often depicted as an ascetic, meditating in the Himalayas, his matted hair adorned with the crescent moon and the Ganges River flowing from his locks. But Shiva is also a god of paradoxes. While he is a destroyer, he is also the one who creates space for new beginnings. Destruction in Hinduism is not seen as a negative force, but as a necessary aspect of the cosmic cycle. For without destruction, there can be no transformation. Shiva's role is to dismantle the old, to remove the unnecessary, and to make way for new growth. His dance, the Tandava, symbolizes the cyclical nature of the universe, birth, death, and rebirth, constantly in motion, constantly renewing itself. These three gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, form the trinity of Hinduism, known as the Trimurti, and together they embody the essential functions of the universe: creation, preservation, and destruction. However, this is not a linear process, but a continuous, cyclical rhythm. Hinduism teaches that the universe undergoes infinite cycles of creation and destruction, and each cycle is governed by the laws of karma, the belief that every action has consequences, both in this life and in future lives. The concept of karma is central to Hindu thought, as it explains the interconnectedness of all beings and the moral framework that governs the universe. Karma is the law of cause and effect, and it dictates that every action, whether good or bad, will eventually return to the individual who performed it. This idea of karmic retribution extends beyond a single lifetime and is tied to the belief in samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. According to this belief, the soul is eternal, and after death, it is reborn in a new body. The actions of a person in their past lives determine their circumstances in the next life. This cycle of samsara continues until the soul attains moksha, or liberation from the cycle of birth and rebirth. The pursuit of moksha is one of the central aims of Hinduism. It is the ultimate goal, the liberation of the soul from the cycle of samsara. Moksha is achieved when an individual realizes their true nature as Atman, the eternal, unchanging self, which is ultimately one with Brahman, the universal consciousness. This realization leads to a state of inner peace, enlightenment, and freedom from the bonds of desire, ignorance, and illusion. The path to moksha is a deeply personal and spiritual journey, and there are many different paths that one can take. The Bhagavad Gita, one of the most revered texts in Hinduism, outlines several paths to liberation, including the path of knowledge, Jnana Yoga, the path of devotion, Bhakti Yoga, and the path of selfless action, Karma Yoga. Each of these paths offers a different approach to attaining spiritual freedom, but they all lead to the same ultimate truth: the realization that the individual self is not separate from the divine, but is, in fact, a reflection of the divine. Hindu mythology is also rich in stories of demons and divine beings, which serve as allegories for the struggles between good and evil, light and darkness, order and chaos. The demon king Ravana, for example, is a central figure in the Ramayana. Though Ravana is a mighty and intelligent ruler, he becomes consumed by his own desires and ego, leading to his eventual downfall. Ravana's story is a reminder of the dangers of pride and attachment, and serves as a cautionary tale about the consequences of unchecked desires. Similarly, The story of the demon Mahishasura and his defeat by the goddess Durga symbolizes the triumph of good over evil. Durga, a powerful warrior goddess, represents the divine feminine energy that can overcome even the most fearsome forces of darkness. Her victory over Mahishasura is a celebration of the power of the goddess and the importance of balance in the cosmic order. Throughout Hindu mythology, the gods and goddesses are depicted not only as divine beings, but as reflections of the various aspects of life itself. They represent the forces of nature, the elements, and the moral principles that govern the universe. The stories of their lives and actions offer profound insights into the nature of existence, the eternal cycle of creation and destruction, and the path to spiritual awakening. Through these myths, Hinduism teaches that life is not a linear progression, but a cyclical journey of growth, transformation, and realization. As we immerse ourselves in Hindu mythology, we come to understand that the divine is not separate from the world around us, but is embedded in every aspect of existence. The gods and goddesses are not distant, otherworldly beings. They are reflections of the forces that govern the universe, and their stories are invitations to explore our own inner worlds, to understand our connection to the divine, and to realize our true nature. In the eternal dance of creation and destruction, the Hindu mythological tradition offers a pathway to understanding life's deepest mysteries and the timeless truths that lie at the heart of the cosmos. In the ancient land of China, where the great rivers meander through vast landscapes and towering mountains touch the skies, a rich and deeply philosophical tradition of mythology has emerged. Chinese mythology is not simply a collection of tales about gods and heroes, but a profound exploration of the relationship between heaven, earth, and humanity. These myths speak to the deep interconnections between all elements of the natural world and the spiritual realms, where balance and harmony are paramount. The gods, immortals, and legendary figures of Chinese mythology embody the ideals of virtue, wisdom, and balance, offering timeless lessons on how to live in harmony with the cosmos and one another. At the heart of Chinese mythology is a belief in the cosmic order, or Tian, which translates to heaven. Tian is the ultimate force that governs the universe, the source of all life and energy, and the supreme moral authority. In Chinese thought, the cosmos is divided into three realms: heaven Tian, earth Di, and humanity Ran. These three realms are in constant interaction, each influencing the others. To achieve harmony, it is necessary for humanity to align itself with the forces of heaven and earth, living according to principles of righteousness, virtue, and balance. The ancient Chinese understood that the forces of nature and the divine were not separate from human life, but intricately woven into the very fabric of existence. One of the most significant figures in Chinese mythology is the Jade Emperor, often regarded as the supreme ruler of heaven. The Jade Emperor is the god who oversees all of heaven, earth, and the various realms of existence. As the ruler of the celestial realm, he is responsible for maintaining order and ensuring that the laws of the universe are followed. In many myths, the Jade Emperor is depicted as a wise and just ruler, though he is also portrayed as somewhat distant from the everyday lives of mortals. He embodies the principle of Li, which represents order, harmony, and propriety, and his reign ensures that the natural and spiritual worlds are in balance. In the mythological cosmology of China, the first being to emerge in primordial chaos was Pangu, a giant figure who is said to have separated heaven and earth. According to legend, Pangu's body became the very components of the universe itself. His breath became the wind, his voice the thunder, his eyes the sun and moon, his limbs the mountains, and his blood the rivers. Pangu's sacrifice was the ultimate act of creation, laying the foundation for all that exists. He is often seen as a symbol of the primal force that exists within nature, the raw, untamed energy that must be harnessed for creation to flourish. After Pangu's death, the universe continued to evolve under the guidance of the gods. One of the most enduring deities in Chinese mythology is Nuwa, the mother goddess who created humanity. Nuwa is said to have fashioned the first humans from clay, breathing life into them with the divine breath. In some versions of myth, Nuwa's creation of humans is seen as an act of compassion, as she desires to populate the world with beings who can appreciate the beauty of nature and the sacredness of life. However, when the heavens were damaged and the sky began to collapse, Nuwa also played a pivotal role in restoring balance. Using the 5 colored stones of the earth, she mended the sky and re-established harmony, symbolizing the importance of both creation and restoration. The concept of the three realms, heaven, earth, and humanity, was also reflected in the relationship between the immortals and deities. The eight immortals, or Ba Xian, are a group of legendary figures who embody various virtues, teachings, and aspects of life. Each of these immortals represents different qualities, such as wisdom, strength, generosity, and righteousness. They are often depicted as carefree, playful figures who transcend the ordinary world and enjoy the pleasures of life, free from the constraints of time and death. The immortals are not only a representation of divine qualities, but also symbols of the possibility of transcendence and spiritual growth. Their myths often feature acts of compassion and moral lessons, highlighting the importance of living virtuously. One of the most beloved figures among the eight immortals is Zhuangzi, better known as Zhuangzi, who is associated with the Taoist philosophy of spontaneity and non-action, or Wu Wei. Zhuangzi's teachings focus on living in harmony with the natural world and following the flow of the Tao, the Way. In his philosophical writings, Zhuangzi often uses stories and parables to demonstrate that true wisdom lies in letting go of rigid concepts and embracing the fluidity of life. His influence extends beyond mythology and into the realms of philosophy, where his teachings have had a lasting impact on Chinese thought. Another important figure in Chinese mythology is the Monkey King, Sun Wukong, a character from the classic novel Journey to the West. Sun Wukong is a trickster figure, full of energy, cleverness, and mischief. Born from a stone egg, he possesses immense strength, speed, and magical powers. He challenges the gods, defies heaven, and seeks immortality, but his journey is one of growth and transformation. The story of the Monkey King is one of redemption and spiritual awakening, as he eventually learns humility and devotion, qualities that allow him to play a crucial role in the pilgrimage of the monk Xuanzang to retrieve sacred Buddhist texts from India. Sun Wukong represents a potential for both spiritual and moral growth, symbolizing the idea that one must overcome ego and desire to achieve true enlightenment. Chinese mythology also incorporates many stories of dragons, which are revered as powerful, auspicious, and benevolent creatures. Unlike the fearsome dragons of Western mythology, Chinese dragons are seen as symbols of strength, good fortune, and prosperity. They are often associated with water, rainfall, and the flow of rivers, which are essential for life and agriculture. The dragon also embodies a harmony between heaven and earth, as it is believed to control the forces of nature and the elements. In many myths, the dragon is a guardian spirit, protecting the people and ensuring that harmony is maintained in the natural world. The relationship between humans and the divine in Chinese mythology is not one of strict separation, but of interconnectedness. The divine is not seen as something distant or separate from the human experience. Rather, it is embedded in the very fabric of life. The gods and immortals are present in the natural world, in the cycles of the seasons, the movement of the stars, and the flow of rivers. Chinese mythology teaches that humans must live in accordance with the natural rhythms of the universe, respecting the forces of nature and striving to maintain balance in their own lives. A key aspect of this worldview is the practice of feng shui, the ancient Chinese art placement and orientation, which is based on a belief that the physical environment can influence the flow of energy or qi. Feng shui is concerned with creating harmony between the environment and the people who live in it, ensuring that the energies of heaven and earth are in balance. This belief reflects the deep understanding in Chinese mythology that human life cannot be separated from the larger cosmic order. It is through aligning oneself with the natural and divine forces that one can find peace, health, and prosperity. The importance of balance and harmony is also reflected in the Chinese understanding of yin and yang. These complementary forces represent the duality inherent in all things, light and dark, male and female, active and passive. The interaction between yin and yang creates a dynamic equilibrium that governs the universe. In Chinese mythology, this balance is not only a cosmic principle but a personal one, reminding humans that inner peace and harmony can only be achieved when these opposing forces are in balance. Through these stories and teachings, Chinese mythology provides a rich and profound framework for understanding the world. It offers insights into the nature of the divine, the importance of virtue, and the interconnectedness of all things. In the myths of the Jade Emperor, Pangu, Niuhua, the Eight Immortals, and Sun Wukong, we see the timeless struggle for balance and harmony, both within the cosmos and within ourselves. These myths are not just tales from a distant past. They are guiding principles, reminders of the deep wisdom embedded in the natural world and the human spirit. In embracing these teachings, one can live a life of peace, prosperity, and spiritual fulfillment, always in harmony with the greater forces that shape our existence. In the vast expanse of North America, where the land stretches from endless forests to arid deserts, and where rivers carve through the earth like veins of life, Native American mythology flourishes. Deeply connected to the natural world, the myths of Native American tribes reflect a worldview where everything, whether animate or inanimate, is imbued with spirit. These myths are not merely stories but sacred teachings that offer insights into how humans should live in harmony with the earth, respect the animals, and honor the balance of all living things. The spiritual connection between humans, animals, plants, and the land forms the core of Native American belief systems, with stories passed down through generations, bridging the gap between the earthly realm and the spiritual world. At the heart of many Native American myths is a creator, a divine entity or force that brought the world into being and continues to shape and guide it. In many tribes, this creator is often depicted as an omnipotent being or a spirit that resides in the sky, bringing life and order to the world. For example, in the Sioux tradition, Wakantanka, the Great Spirit, is believed to be the source of all life, the unseen force that governs the universe. Wakantanka is a sacred presence that permeates all things, connecting humans to the animals, plants, and the elements. To the Native Americans, everything is spirit, and the land itself is seen as a living, breathing entity that must be respected and cared for. One of the most well-known and revered figures in Native American mythology is the trickster figure, who appears in the stories of many tribes. The trickster is often portrayed as a shape-shifting character, sometimes a coyote, raven, or spider, who embodies both wisdom and mischief. Trickster stories are abundant, and they typically feature the trickster performing clever acts that either help or hinder those around them. The trickster is not a villain in the traditional sense, but a figure who teaches important lessons through their actions, whether they are acting out of selfishness, wit, or wisdom. The trickster's actions often challenge the status quo, teaching people not to take life too seriously and to understand the deeper truths behind appearances. In the tales of the Navajo people, Coyote is a prominent trickster who plays an essential role in the creation of the world. Coyote is known for his humor and his ability to transform into different forms, and his actions, while sometimes foolish, always result in the world's betterment. He is an unpredictable character who teaches that life is full of mystery and wonder, and that one must learn to adapt and live with the uncertainties of the world. Coyote's stories are filled with contradictions. At times he is wise, and at other times he is foolish, but his very nature reflects the balance between chaos and order, the wild and the tame. In contrast to the trickster, many Native American cultures also revere great heroes or cultural heroes who personify the virtues of strength, courage, and wisdom. These heroes often emerge during times of crisis or transformation, helping to bring about peace, order, and prosperity. One such hero is the great hunter of the Lakota, who is said to have created the buffalo and brought them to the people. The buffalo is a central figure in many Native American cultures, and its importance cannot be overstated. The buffalo represents abundance, nourishment, and the interconnectedness of all living things. The Grey Hunter's gift of the buffalo was a symbol of the gift of life itself, and the relationship between the people and the buffalo was one of deep respect and mutual dependence. The buffalo was not only a source of food, clothing, and tools, but also a sacred creature whose spirit had to be honored. The relationship between humans and animals in Native American mythology is one of deep interdependence. Many tribes believe that animals are spiritual beings with their own intelligence, emotions, and roles in the world. The spirit of the animal is thought to be just as important as that of humans, and each creature has a unique lesson to teach. The stories of animals, whether they are portrayed as wise mentors, powerful spirits, or playful tricksters, are reflections of the belief that all beings are connected in a sacred web of life. Animals, particularly those who are considered to be spirit guides, are often believed to offer wisdom and protection to individuals, and their presence in dreams and visions is seen as a sign of spiritual guidance. For instance, in many Native American traditions, the bear is seen as a powerful symbol of strength, courage, and healing. The bear is often associated with the spirit world and is considered a protector of the people. To encounter a bear in a dream or vision is often regarded as a sign of personal growth and transformation, a reminder to tap into one's inner strength. Similarly, the eagle is revered for its keen eyesight and its ability to soar high above the earth, symbolizing a higher perspective and spiritual enlightenment. The eagle is often regarded as a messenger between the human world and the spirit world, and its flight is seen as a metaphor for the soul's journey toward wisdom and enlightenment. The myth of the Turtle Island, a story found in the traditions of the Iroquois and many other eastern Native American tribes, is a powerful symbol of creation and the earth's enduring strength. According to the myth, the earth was originally covered in water, and the animals of the sky and sea were searching for a place to create a new world. When the great sky woman fell from the heavens, it was a turtle who rose from the depths of the water to catch her, offering his back as a foundation for the creation of the earth. The land grew on the turtle's back, and the world was formed, thus earning the name Turtle Island for North America. This creation story highlights the sacred role that animals play in the creation and preservation of the world, as well as the interconnectedness between humans and nature. The myth of the Sky Woman and Turtle Island reflects another key theme in Native American mythology, the connection between the spiritual and physical realms. In many traditions, the earth is seen as a place where the divine and human worlds meet. Sacred mountains, river, and forests are believed to be portals to the spirit world, places where humans can commune with the divine and receive guidance. These natural landmarks are often regarded as sacred, and many Native American tribes have ceremonies and rituals that honor them. For example, the Hopi people believe that the earth itself is alive and that all of nature is sacred, including the rocks, plants, animals, and even the rain. The earth is seen as a living being that must be treated with respect, and maintaining a harmonious relationship with it is of utmost importance. The concept of balance is central to many Native American myths. Balance between the physical and spiritual worlds, between humans and nature, and between life and death is a recurring theme. In many traditions, it is believed that the Creator intended for the world to be in harmony, and that it is the responsibility of humans to maintain that balance. This idea of balance is reflected in the stories of the four directions, which represent the four cardinal points, north, south, east, and west, as well as the cycles of life. Each direction is associated with different qualities, such as wisdom, strength, love, and healing, and each plays a vital role in maintaining the harmony of the world. As we explore the diverse and rich tapestry of Native American mythology, we find that the teachings embedded in these stories offer profound insights into the nature of existence. They remind us of the sacredness of life, the importance of living in balance with the earth, and the interconnectedness of all beings. Whether through the wise trickster, the heroic figure, or the sacred animals, Native American mythology invites us to see the world as a living, breathing entity, a place where the spiritual and physical realms are intertwined. The myths carry with them timeless lessons on respect, harmony, and the deep, abiding connection between humanity and the natural world. These stories are not only a window into the past, but a guide for how to live with mindfulness and reverence in the present. In the lands of ancient Greece, where the rugged mountains meet the azure seas, and where the ruins of temples to forgotten gods still stand, a rich tapestry of mythology flourished. Greek mythology is a world filled with gods and goddesses, titans and heroes, all of whom embodied complexities of human nature and the forces of the universe. It is a mythology that delves into themes of creation, power, love, revenge, and fate, offering timeless lessons and insights into the very essence of existence. The stories of the Greek gods and heroes, passed down through generations, continue to shape the way we understand the world, ourselves, and our place in the cosmos. At the center of Greek mythology stands the pantheon of gods, led by Zeus, the king of the gods. Zeus, with his thunderbolts and mighty presence, rules the heavens and maintains order in the cosmos. His role as the ultimate authority figure reflects the Greek belief in the divine as a source of power and justice. But despite his power, Zeus is far from a flawless deity. He is known for his numerous affairs with mortal women and goddesses, which often lead to dramatic consequences. This paradoxical nature of Zeus, both just and flawed, captures the complexity of Greek mythology, where the gods are not infallible beings, but powerful, multifaceted entities who reflect the full spectrum of human behavior. Zeus's role as the king of the gods is further exemplified in his relationships with other deities. His wife, Hera, the queen of the gods, is the goddess of marriage and family, but she is also known for her jealousy and vengeful nature, particularly when it comes to Zeus's infidelities. The tension between Zeus and Hera reflects the complexities of love and power, as well as the struggles that arise in relationships. Hera's often difficult role in Greek mythology highlights the challenges that come with being in a position of power and responsibility, especially in a world where emotions and desires often lead to conflict. In contrast to Zeus's rule over the heavens, Poseidon, the god of the sea, controls the waters and the creatures that inhabit them. Poseidon's domain over the oceans makes him a powerful and unpredictable figure, known for his temperamental nature. He is often depicted with a trident, capable of stirring the seas and causing storms. Poseidon's role in Greek mythology is deeply connected to the natural world, reflecting the ancient Greeks' understanding of the power and unpredictability of nature. While Zeus governs the skies and controls lightning, Poseidon is the god who rules over the seas and the depths, where many of the world's mysteries lie. Hades, the god of the underworld, presides over the realm of the dead. Unlike his brothers Zeus and Poseidon, Hades is not as widely worshipped or revered, and his realm is often depicted as a dark, shadowy place. Yet, Hades' role in Greek mythology is crucial, for he governs the souls of the deceased and ensures that the dead are kept in their proper place. Hades is often portrayed as a stern, just figure, not cruel or malicious, but focused on maintaining order in the afterlife. His marriage to Persephone, the goddess of spring, is one of the most famous stories in Greek mythology, symbolizing the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Persephone's descent into the underworld each year, followed by her return to the world of the living, represents the changing seasons and the eternal cycle of life and death. Beyond the Olympian gods, Greek mythology is filled with powerful and tragic heroes whose stories are intertwined with the gods themselves. One of the most famous Greek heroes is Heracles, known for his incredible strength and courage. Heracles, the son of Zeus and the mortal Alcmene, was tasked with completing 12 impossible labors as punishment for a crime he did not commit. Each labor, from slaying the Nemean lion to capturing the Erymanthean boar, tested Heracles' strength and determination. His heroic deeds made him a symbol of resilience and perseverance, but his story is also one of suffering and redemption. Heracles' journey reflects the Greek understanding of the hero's path as one of struggle, sacrifice, and ultimate triumph, but also the cost that such victories come with. Another well-known hero in Greek mythology is Achilles, the greatest of the Greek warriors in the Trojan War. Achilles' story, as told in the Iliad, is one of pride, rage, and ultimately tragedy. Achilles' near invincibility, his mother, Thetis, dipped him into the river Styx, making him nearly immortal, was his greatest strength and his ultimate vulnerability. His legendary rage, sparked by the insult to his honor, led him to withdraw from battle, but his return to the fight and his fateful encounter with Hector, the Trojan prince, ended in death and sorrow. Achilles' story illustrates the complex relationship between pride, fate, and mortality, and the consequences that arise when one's emotions cloud reason. Odysseus, another hero of Greek myth, represents the archetype of the clever and resourceful hero. His journey, as told in the Odyssey, is one of cunning, endurance, and adventure. Unlike the straightforward brute strength of Heracles or the heroic rage of Achilles, Odysseus relies on his wit and intelligence to overcome the challenges he faces during his long journey home from the Trojan War. His encounters with the Cyclops, Circe, and the Sirens are examples of his ability to navigate the complex and dangerous world of the gods and monsters. Odysseus' journey is not just a physical one, but a spiritual and moral test, as he faces numerous temptations and trials that challenge his loyalty, integrity, and wisdom. The story of Odysseus is one of perseverance and the struggle to return to the comfort and safety of home, reflecting the universal human desire for belonging and the hardships faced along the way. While the gods and heroes of Greek mythology often embody the qualities of power, wisdom, and courage, they also embody the complexities of human nature: pride, jealousy, love, and revenge. The gods are not perfect beings, but rather powerful figures who are subject to the same emotions and desires as humans. The myths of Greek mythology illustrate the consequences of these human flaws, showing how they can lead to both great triumphs and great tragedies. The Greek myths also emphasize the role of fate and destiny in shaping the lives of gods and mortals alike. In Greek thought, fate was an inescapable force, controlled by the Moirai, or fates, who determine the lives of all beings. No matter how powerful or wise a god or hero might be, they could not escape their destiny. This theme of fate and its unalterable power is central to many of the most famous stories in Greek mythology, from the tragic downfall of Oedipus to the doomed love affair of Orpheus and Eurydice. The idea that fate is an uncontrollable force serves as both a warning and a lesson, reminding mortals of their limited power and the importance of humility in the face of the unknown. As we journey through the intricate world of Greek mythology, we come to understand that these stories are not just about gods and heroes. They are reflections of the human condition itself. The gods, with their strengths and weaknesses, their triumphs and failures, embody the complexities of life, while the heroes, with their courage and flaws, represent the struggles that we all face. The Greek myths offer timeless insights into the nature of power, love, fate, and the human spirit, reminding us of both our potential and our limitations. They invite us to explore the eternal struggles that shape our lives and to learn from the gods and heroes who came before us. In the end, Greek mythology serves as a mirror to the world, reflecting the forces that govern our existence and the complexities of the journey we all must undertake. In the cold northern lands of Scandinavia, where towering mountains rise into mist-covered skies and dense forests stretch as far as the eye can see, a mythology emerged that is as rugged and profound as the landscape itself. Norse mythology, rooted in the ancient traditions of the Vikings, speaks of gods and creatures who inhabit a world of great power and constant change. It is a mythology of destruction and rebirth, of heroism and sacrifice, and of an unyielding connection to fate. The gods, giants, and heroes of the Norse mythological tradition are ever entwined in a cosmic struggle, their lives and actions woven into the fabric of the 9 realms, worlds that exist in a delicate balance and face inevitable destruction and renewal. At the heart of Norse mythology is the world of Asgard, the realm of the gods. The gods of Asgard, also known as the Aesir, are powerful, often larger-than-life figures who govern various aspects of the cosmos. The chief among them is Odin, the All-Father, the god of wisdom, war, and death. Odin is a god of great depth and complexity, often depicted as a one-eyed, wise figure who sacrificed much for knowledge. According to myth, Odin gave up one of his eyes in exchange for a drink from the well of wisdom, gaining the ability to see into the future and the knowledge of how the cosmos would unfold. Odin is both a ruler and a seeker, constantly striving for wisdom and understanding, even at the cost of personal sacrifice. His thirst for knowledge and foresight makes him both a god of wisdom and a god of tragedy, as he is aware of the looming doom of Ragnarok, the end of the world. Odin's great hall, Valhalla, is where the greatest warriors who have died in battle are taken to prepare for the final battle of Ragnarok. Valhalla is a place of honor and glory, a world filled with feasting and combat, where the chosen dead, known as the Einherjar, train endlessly in anticipation of the end. This notion of a glorious afterlife for warriors who have died bravely in battle speaks to the Norse ideal of honor and strength. The warriors of Valhalla are not merely waiting for death, but are actively engaged in preparing for the ultimate struggle, Ragnarok, the cataclysmic battle that will lead to the destruction of the gods and the world itself. Odin's son, Thor, is perhaps the most well-known of the Norse gods. The god of thunder and lightning, Thor is a mighty warrior who wields the hammer Mjolnir, a weapon capable of leveling mountains. Thor is often depicted as protector of both gods and humans, defending the realms from the giants and other forces of chaos. Unlike his father, Odin, who often operates in the shadows, Thor is straightforward, embodying the virtues of strength, bravery, and protection. He is a god of action, and his stories are filled with heroic feats and epic battles against monsters and giants. Thor's strength is unmatched, but his journey is also one of constant struggle, for the giants, ancient enemies of the gods, are always threatening the peace of the realms. Thor's battle with the giants is emblematic of the eternal struggle between order and chaos, a central theme in Norse mythology. Loki, the trickster god, is another pivotal figure in the Norse pantheon. Unlike Odin and Thor, Loki is not a god of order or power. Rather, he embodies chaos, mischief, and transformation. Loki is a shapeshifter, able to take on many forms, and his actions are often unpredictable. Though initially a friend to the gods, Loki's schemes frequently lead to trouble. His role in Norse mythology is one of both creation and destruction. He is the father of monstrous beings like the wolf Fenrir, the serpent Jormungand, and a half-dead Hel, the ruler of the underworld. Loki's relationship with the gods is complex, for while he is a source of both help and harm, his ultimate betrayal leads to the destruction of Asgard at Ragnarok. Loki's actions demonstrate the precarious balance between creation and destruction, and how even the gods themselves are vulnerable to the forces of chaos. The giants, or Jotnar, are another key aspect of Norse mythology. These ancient beings are often in direct opposition to the gods, representing the forces of chaos, nature, and destruction. The giants are not inherently evil, but they embody the untamed forces of the world that the gods must constantly battle. In many myths, the giants are depicted as enormous, primordial beings who are as old as the world itself. They are creatures of immense power, and their actions are often driven by the desire to overthrow the gods and bring about the destruction of the established order. The conflict between the gods and the giants reflects the natural tensions between civilization and the wild, between order and chaos. One of the most famous tales of conflict in Norse mythology is the story of Ragnarok, the end of the world. Ragnarok is a cataclysmic event that signals the downfall of the gods and the destruction of the cosmos. According to prophecy, Ragnarok will begin with a series of natural disasters, such as earthquakes and harsh winters, that will plunge the world into darkness. The gods will then face a great battle against the giants and their monstrous offspring. During this battle, many of the gods, including Odin, Thor, and Loki, will perish. The sun will be swallowed by the wolf skull, and the world will be consumed by fire. Yet, even in the face of this ultimate destruction, there is hope for renewal. After the devastation, the world will be reborn, cleansed, and purified, and a new generation of gods will rise to establish a new order. Ragnarok, with its inevitable destruction and rebirth, is a central theme in Norse mythology. It represents the cyclical nature of existence, the idea that life, death, and rebirth are part of an eternal cycle. The destruction of the gods is not the end, but rather the beginning of something new. This notion of cyclical time, where the end is inseparable from the beginning, is central to the Norse worldview. It reflects the harsh realities of life in the cold, unforgiving north, where the seasons change and the world is constantly in flux. The Norse people understood that destruction and chaos were part of the natural order, and that from destruction comes renewal and growth. In addition to the gods and giants, Norse mythology is also rich with other fantastical creatures, such as the Valkyries and the Norns. The Valkyries are female warriors who serve Odin, selecting the bravest of warriors to bring to Valhalla. They are often depicted as fierce and noble figures who embody the ideals of strength and honor. The Norns, on the other hand, are the three goddesses of fate, who spin the threads of destiny for all beings in the cosmos. The Norns are an essential part of the Norse understanding of fate, as they determine the lifespans and paths of all creatures. Their role in mythology underscores a belief that destiny is inevitable and that all beings, even the gods, are subject to the laws of fate. Norse mythology is also deeply connected to the land and nature. The 9 realms, which are the different worlds that make up the cosmos, are interconnected through the great tree Yggdrasil, the world tree. Yggdrasil is the axis that holds the 9 realms together, and it is considered the center of the universe. The realms themselves represent different aspects of existence. Asgard is the realm of the gods, Midgard is the realm of humans, Jotunheim is the realm of the giants, and Helheim is the realm of the dead. Each realm is distinct, yet they are all connected through Yggdrasil, symbolizing the interconnectedness of all things in the universe. This worldview emphasizes a Norse belief in the unity of all existence, where the actions of one realm can affect the others, and where all beings play a part in the grand cycle of creation and destruction. As we journey through the realms of Norse mythology, we are reminded of the constant interplay between fate, power, and sacrifice. The gods, giants, and heroes are caught in an eternal struggle that is both destructive and transformative. Their stories, filled with triumph and tragedy, teach us that even in the face of inevitable doom, there is hope for renewal and rebirth. Norse mythology, with its complex characters and profound themes, offers a window into a worldview where life is cyclical, where chaos and order are inextricably linked, and where the gods themselves must face the consequences of their actions. In the end, it is through this struggle, this constant cycle of death and rebirth, that the world and all of existence continues to move forward, ever changing, ever evolving. Beneath the warm sun and the ever-flowing Nile, where the ancient pyramids rise against the horizon, a rich tapestry of mythology flourished in the land of Egypt. Egyptian mythology is one of the oldest and most influential mythological traditions, with stories that span thousands of years, passed down through generations of priests, scribes, and artisans. These myths are not just tales, but the foundational worldview that intertwine the divine, the natural world, and the afterlife in a complex and interdependent web. Central to Egyptian mythology are the gods and goddesses, each representing key elements of the world and the cyclical nature of life, death, and rebirth. At the core of Egyptian mythology is the concept of creation. Unlike other mythologies where creation is often seen as a one-time event, Egyptian creation stories reflect a belief in an ongoing, ever-renewing process. The Egyptian gods were thought to have brought the world into being from chaos, and their actions continue to shape and maintain the universe. The first creation myth is centered around the god Adam, the self-created being who emerged from the primordial waters of Nun, the endless abyss. Adam created the world by speaking, bringing forth life through his words. In some versions of myth, Adam created his own children, Shu, the god of air, and Tefnut, the goddess of moisture, who went on to create the world's elements, the sky, the earth, the rivers, and all living things. This act of creation by spoken word reflects the importance of speech and order in Egyptian culture, where words had the power to shape reality. Another key creation story comes from the Heliopolitan tradition, where the sun god Ra plays a central role. Ra, often depicted as a falcon-headed god, was considered the king of the gods and the embodiment of the sun's life-giving power. According to this myth, Ra was born from the primordial waters and created the world and its inhabitants through his divine speech. He brought light to the darkness and order to chaos. Ra's daily journey across the sky in his solar boat symbolized the eternal cycle of day and night, and his journey into the underworld each night was viewed as a symbolic death, followed by his rebirth each morning. This eternal cycle of death and rebirth mirrors the broader themes of life in Egypt, where death was not seen as an end but as a passage to the afterlife, a continuation of the soul's journey. Ra's dominance was challenged, however, by his own daughter, the lioness goddess Sekhmet, who was created by Ra's fiery eye to punish humanity for its disobedience. In some myths, Sekhmet's thirst for blood was so great that she nearly destroyed the world. To stop her, Ra devised a plan to deceive her with beer dyed red, which she mistook for blood. When Sekhmet drank the beer, she became intoxicated and fell asleep, preventing the total destruction of humanity. This myth highlights the duality of the Egyptian gods. While they were life-giving forces, they also represented destruction and chaos. The gods, while benevolent, were not always merciful, and their actions often came with consequences for both the mortal and divine realms. The god Osiris plays a central role in the Egyptian understanding of life, death, and resurrection. Osiris, the god of agriculture, fertility, and the afterlife, was beloved by the people. His story is one of tragedy, betrayal, and ultimately resurrection. Osiris was a wise and just king who brought prosperity to Egypt, but his brother Set, the god of chaos and disorder, became jealous of his success. Set tricked Osiris into entering a coffin, which he then sealed and cast into the Nile. Osiris's body was carried away by the river, and Set took over his throne. However, Osiris's wife, Isis, and his sister Nephthys mourned his death and searched for his body. When they found it, Isis used her magical powers to bring Osiris back to life, but Osiris was unable to stay in the mortal world. He descended to the underworld, where he became the ruler of the dead. The myth of Osiris symbolizes the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Osiris's resurrection was not just a literal event, but a symbol of the land's fertility, as the Nile River flooded each year, bringing new life to the soil. The belief that Osiris's death and resurrection ensured the prosperity of the land was central to Egyptian understanding of agriculture and the seasons. The myth of Osiris also became a cornerstone of Egyptian religious practice, as it reinforced the idea that death was not the end, but a transition to a new phase of existence. In addition to Osiris, the goddess Isis holds a central place in Egyptian mythology. Isis is one of the most important deities, revered as a goddess of magic, motherhood, and protection. She was a powerful healer and the protector of the pharaohs, helping them in both life and death. Her devotion to her husband Osiris and her determination to resurrect him after his death make her a symbol of love and loyalty. Isis was also the mother of Horus, the falcon-headed god who represents the sky and kingship. Horus's struggle to avenge his father's death and reclaim the throne from Set is another key myth in Egyptian mythology, symbolizing the battle between order and chaos. Horus's victory over Set was seen as the restoration of balance in the world and the reaffirmation of the divine right of the pharaohs, who were believed to be Horus incarnate on earth. While the god and goddesses were essential to Egyptian life, the relationship between humans and the divine was not one of mere worship. The Egyptians believed in the principle of Ma'at, the concept of cosmic order, truth, and justice. Ma'at was personified by the goddess of the same name, and her teachings were at the heart of Egyptian morality. The pharaoh, as the living god on earth, was tasked with upholding Ma'at, ensuring that the world remained in balance and that order prevailed over chaos. This idea of divine order was reflected in Egyptian society, where the pharaoh was considered the intermediary between the gods and the people, ensuring that the will of the gods was carried out. The afterlife was an integral part of Egyptian mythology, and the journey to the afterlife was one of the most important aspects of their religious beliefs. Egyptians believed that death was a transition to another realm, where the soul would be judged and, if worthy, granted eternal life. The soul of the deceased would undergo a judgment before Osiris in the Hall of Ma'at, where the heart would be weighed against a feather of Ma'at. If the heart was lighter than the feather, the soul would be granted immortality. If not, it would be devoured by the monster Ammit, resulting in eternal destruction. This judgment, depicted in the Book of the Dead, was central to Egyptian funerary practices, and elaborate rituals were performed to ensure the deceased's safe passage to the afterlife. The afterlife, known as the Duat, was a place where the soul could enjoy eternal life in a paradise, provided it had lived a virtuous life. The deceased would travel through the Duat, encountering various dangers and obstacles, often requiring the help of gods like Ra, Osiris, and Isis. The journey to the Duat was depicted in tomb paintings and inscriptions, with the deceased often shown riding in a boat with the sun god Ra, symbolizing their hope for a successful journey to the afterlife. The deceased would eventually reach the Field of Reeds, a heavenly place where they could live in peace and abundance, enjoying the fruits of their earthly labors. The importance of the afterlife is reflected in elaborate burial practices of the ancient Egyptians. Tombs were filled with offerings, amulets, and statues to ensure that the deceased would be well equipped for their journey. Mummification was a key part of these practices, as it was believed that preserving the body allowed the soul to recognize and reunite with it in the afterlife. The pyramids, grand tombs built for the pharaohs, were constructed as monumental symbols of the eternal nature of the soul and the pharaoh's divine status. As we explore the rich and complex world of Egyptian mythology, we find that its themes of creation, death, and rebirth resonate through the ages. The gods and goddesses, the divine order they embodied, and the eternal cycle of life and death all reflect a deep understanding of the interconnectedness of the natural and spiritual worlds. From the wisdom of Ra to the love and devotion of Isis, from the resurrection of Osiris to the judgment of the soul in the afterlife, Egyptian mythology offers timeless lessons about the balance of life, the importance of justice, and the enduring power of love and transformation. These myths remind us that life is not just a linear journey, but a cyclical process, one that is intimately connected with the forces of the universe and the divine. In the misty hills and green landscapes of ancient Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and Brittany, a rich tapestry of myths and legends flourished among the Celtic people. Celtic mythology is deeply intertwined with the natural world, where gods, goddesses, and spirits embody the forces of nature and the land. Unlike many other mythological traditions that often place the gods in distant realms or heavens, Celtic mythology sees the divine present in every aspect of the natural world. The trees, rivers, mountains, and animals all have their own spiritual significance, and the cycles of nature, birth, death, and rebirth, are reflected in the lives of the gods and heroes. The Celtic worldview is rooted in the belief that the material and spiritual realms are not separate but interconnected, and that the other world, an ethereal realm beyond a mortal plane, is just as real and important as the world of the living. The other world is often portrayed as a land of eternal youth, beauty, and magic, where time does not flow in the same way it does in the human world. It is a place where gods and spirits reside, and it is also a realm that heroes can enter and leave. This duality between the visible and invisible, the living and the spiritual, forms the backbone of Celtic mythology, which blurs the boundaries between these realms. One of the most significant figures in Celtic mythology is the Great Mother, often represented by the earth goddess known as Danu. She is the mother of the Tuatha Dé Danann, the tribe of the gods who came to Ireland from the otherworld. Danu's influence is vast, as she is associated with fertility, abundance, and the land itself. The Tuatha Dé Danann and her children are deities who personify various aspects of nature and life. Their names and characteristics evoke a deep connection to the natural world. Lugh, the god of the sun and light. Bridget, the goddess of fertility, poetry, and healing. And the Morrigan, the goddess of war and fate, often depicted as a crow or raven, symbolizing death and transformation. The Tuatha Dé Danann are not only gods, but also figures that embody the Celtic understanding of nature cycles. Lugh, for example, is not merely a sun god, but a god of light, craftsmanship, and harvest. His association with the harvest reflects the Celtic reverence for the land's cyclical nature. As the light of the sun wanes during the autumn and winter months, the Celtic people recognize the ebb and flow of life, much like the cycle of the seasons. The Morrigan, another central figure, represents the darker aspects of nature, war, death, and destruction. But in Celtic thought, death was not an end, but a transformation. The Morrigan, often seen as a harbinger of doom, also represents the necessity of death in the cycle of life. She is a figure who brings about change and renewal through her acts of destruction. One of the key themes in Celtic mythology is the connection between the gods and the land. The Celts believed that the land was sacred and imbued with divine power. The earth itself was seen as a living being, with its own consciousness and spirit. Sacred groves, wells, and mountains were believed to be places where the veil between the human world and the other world was thin. The Celts revered nature not just as a physical landscape, but as a spiritual entity that could communicate with the gods. The rituals and ceremonies performed by the Celts were often meant to honor and maintain the balance between the human world and the divine forces of nature. The Celts also believed in the power of the seasons, and the changing of the year was marked by important festivals that celebrated the cycles of life. Four major festivals were central to the Celtic calendar: Imbolc, Beltane, Lughnasadh, and Samhain. These festivals corresponded to the changing seasons and were times of renewal and reflection. Imbolc, which took place in early February, marked the beginning of spring and the return of light. It was associated with Bridget, the goddess of fire and fertility, and was a time of purification and renewal. Beltane, celebrated on May 1st, marked the height of spring and the arrival of summer. It was a time of fertility and growth, symbolized by the lighting of bonfires and the celebration of life. Lughnasadh, celebrated in August, was a harvest festival that honored love and the abundance of the earth. Finally, Samhain, celebrated on October 31st, marked the end of the harvest and the onset of winter. It was believed that during Samhain, the veil between the worlds was thinnest, and the spirits of the dead could cross over into the living world. It was a time for honoring ancestors and connecting with the spirits of the otherworld. The Celts also had a deep belief in the power of the otherworld, a realm where gods, spirits, and heroes could travel, and where time did not behave as it does in the human world. The otherworld was often depicted as an idyllic paradise, a place of eternal youth and beauty. In some stories, the otherworld is described as an island or a hidden realm beyond the sea, where the dead dwell or where heroes go to seek knowledge or guidance. The hero Cú Chulainn, one of the most famous figures in Irish mythology, often encounters the otherworld in his quests. His journey to the otherworld symbolizes a belief that the hero must cross over to the spirit realm in order to gain wisdom or power. The otherworld is not a place of punishment, but rather a space of transformation, where the boundaries of time and space are transcended. One of the most famous myths of the Celtic tradition is the tale of the Cailleach, the ancient goddess of winter, death, and transformation. The Cailleach is said to control the seasons, creating the harshness of winter before giving way to the gentleness of spring. She is often depicted as an old woman, her appearance a reflection of the natural cycle of life and death. The Cailleach's reign ends with the arrival of spring, when she transforms into a beautiful maiden, symbolizing the rejuvenation of the land and the rebirth of life. This transformation reflects the Celtic belief that death and rebirth are not opposites, but are part of the same continuous cycle of existence. Another significant myth is that of the love story between the god Angus and the beautiful maiden Care. Angus, the god of love, dreams, and youth, falls in love with Care, who is transformed into a swan. In order to be with her, Angus must undergo a journey of transformation and sacrifice. This myth is a reflection of the Celtic understanding of love as a powerful force that transcends the boundaries of the physical world. Angus's journey represents the idea that true love requires both transformation and surrender, as well as the willingness to face the unknown. The tale is also a symbol of the deep connection the Celts had with animals and the belief that the spirit world could manifest in many forms, including that of animals, birds, and other creatures. In Celtic mythology, the concept of the hero is not just about physical strength or bravery, but also about wisdom, transformation, and spiritual growth. Heroes like Cuchulainn, who is known for his superhuman abilities in battle, also embody the qualities of self-sacrifice, loyalty, and a deep connection to the divine. The hero's journey in Celtic mythology is often one of spiritual awakening, as the hero must confront not just external challenges, but internal ones as well. This journey of self-discovery and transformation is central to the Celtic understanding of heroism, which emphasizes personal growth, wisdom, and the ability to navigate the mysteries of the otherworld. The Celtic view of the world is one of deep connection to nature, the cycles of life, and the spiritual forces that shape existence. Through their myths and legends, the Celts express their reverence for the earth, the seasons, and the spirits that inhabit the natural world. The gods and goddesses, with their close ties to the land and the cycles of nature, serve as reminders of the ever-present and ever-changing forces that govern life. Celtic mythology invites us to see the world as a living, breathing entity, where the divine is present in every tree, every river, and every animal. It reminds us of the importance of balance, renewal, and the interconnectedness of all things in the universe. In the end, the myths of the Celts offer timeless wisdom about the relationship between humans, nature, and the divine, and the cyclical nature of existence that continues to shape our world today. In the vast and ancient lands of India, where the sacred rivers flow through bustling cities and serene temples, Hindu mythology flourishes as one of the oldest and most intricate belief systems in the world. With its rich collection of stories, gods, and legends, Hindu mythology is a tapestry that spans thousands of years, offering deep insights into the nature of existence, the cosmos, and the divine. At its core, Hindu mythology is a dynamic and cyclical understanding of life, one that embraces eternal dance of creation, preservation, destruction, and rebirth. The gods and goddesses of Hinduism are not just powerful beings, but symbols of deeper cosmic forces, embodying the essential principles that sustain and transform the universe. The foundation of Hindu mythology is found in the concept of Brahman, the supreme reality, the ultimate and formless essence of the universe. Brahman is both transcendent and immanent, existing beyond time and space, while simultaneously being present in all things. It is from Brahman that all creation flows, and it is to Brahman that all creation ultimately returns. The divine is seen as an indivisible unity that manifests in countless forms and deities, each representing a different aspect of the ultimate truth. This understanding of the divine as both one and many is central to Hindu thought, where the infinite is perceived through the finite forms of gods and goddesses. The primary trinity of God in Hindu mythology, the Trimurti, consists of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Each of these gods represents a different aspect of the cosmic cycle of creation, preservation, and destruction. Brahma, the creator, is the god responsible for the creation of the universe and all living beings. However, Brahma is often seen as a distant figure, largely absent from active worship in comparison to his counterparts Vishnu and Shiva. His role is more conceptual, reflecting the beginning of the cosmic cycle and the origination of all things. Vishnu, the preserver, is one of the most widely worshipped deities in Hinduism. Vishnu is a god who maintains the order of the universe, ensuring that balance is kept and that chaos does not overwhelm creation. Vishnu is often depicted as a benevolent and compassionate god, known for his many incarnations avatars, which he takes to restore order whenever the world falls into disarray. His 10 principal avatars, known as the Dashavatara, are among the most well-known stories in Hindu mythology. These incarnations range from the mighty fish Matsya to the compassionate man-lion Narasimha and the heroic Prince Rama. Each avatar serves a specific purpose in restoring cosmic order and protecting Dharma, righteousness, on Earth. The most famous of Vishnu's avatars is that of Lord Krishna, the god of love, compassion, and divine playfulness. Krishna is portrayed as a playful and mischievous figure, often seen engaging in joyous activities, such as dancing with the gopis, milkmaids, or playing his flute. However, Krishna is also a profound teacher and philosopher, most notably in the Bhagavad Gita, where he imparts the eternal wisdom of Dharma to the warrior Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Krishna's teachings emphasize the importance of devotion, bhakti, selfless action, karma, and the pursuit of knowledge, jnana. Through Krishna's divine acts, both playful and serious, Hindu mythology conveys the belief that the divine can be experienced in all aspects of life, whether in joy or sorrow, peace or conflict. Shiva, the destroyer, completes a Trimurti by representing the principle of dissolution and transformation. While Shiva's role as a destroyer may seem ominous, destruction in Hinduism is not seen as negative but as a necessary part of the cyclical process of creation and renewal. Shiva's destruction paves the way for the new to emerge, clearing the path for transformation and rebirth. Shiva is a complex figure, embodying both ascetic and erotic elements. He is depicted as a meditative yogi who lives atop Mount Kailash, detached from worldly affairs. Yet he is also a god of passion, cosmic dance, and fertility. His form as Natraja, the Lord of Dance, symbolizes eternal rhythm of creation and destruction, as his dance creates the universe, and his destruction of it marks its end, only for it to be reborn again. One of the most significant myths surrounding Shiva is his marriage to Parvati, the daughter of the Mountain King. Parvati is a goddess of love, devotion, and fertility, and her union with Shiva represents the balance of opposites, asceticism and sensuality, destruction and creation. The story of their marriage is symbolic of the harmonious coexistence of divine energies and the interconnectedness of opposites. Their son, Ganesha, the elephant-headed god of wisdom and remover of obstacles, embodies the same balance, as he is both playful and wise, demonstrating that intellect and innocence go hand in hand. The role of goddess worship in Hindu mythology cannot be overlooked, as numerous goddesses represent various forces of nature and cosmic principles. Durga, Kali, Lakshmi, Sarasvati, and Parvati are just a few of the most revered goddesses, each embodying a different aspect of the divine feminine. Durga, for example, is a warrior goddess who fights against evil forces and protects Dharma. Kali, the fierce form of Durga, represents the destructive aspect of the goddess, but her destruction is seen as a purifying force, clearing away ignorance and falsehood. Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth and prosperity, symbolizes abundance and good fortune, while Sarasvati, the goddess of knowledge and the arts, represents wisdom, creativity, and learning. These goddesses, along with the many other forms of the feminine divine, highlight the integral role that the feminine plays in the cosmic order. Hindu mythology is rich with stories that explore the complexities of human nature, the divine, and the moral dilemmas faced by gods and mortals alike. One of the most enduring tales is that of the Ramayana, an epic that tells the story of the prince Rama, his wife Sita, and his battle to rescue her from the demon king Ravana. The Ramayana is a story of dharma, righteousness, loyalty, and sacrifice, and is filled with deep moral teachings. Rama is the ideal hero, embodying virtues such as honor, duty, and devotion to truth. His devotion to his wife Sita, his loyalty to his father, and his unyielding commitment to justice make him a model of virtue, and his journey serves as an allegory for the path of righteous living. Similarly, the Mahabharata, the longest epic in the world, tells the story of the Kurukshetra War and the struggles of the Pandavas and Kauravas. At the heart of the Mahabharata is the Bhagavad Gita, a sacred text in which Krishna offers guidance to the warrior Arjuna on the battlefield. The Gita addresses profound questions about duty, morality, and the nature of the self. Krishna's teachings in the Gita emphasize the importance of selfless action and devotion to the divine, regardless of external circumstances. The Mahabharata's message is one of the complexity of human choices and the need for divine guidance in navigating the challenges of life. Hindu mythology also emphasizes the concept of karma, the law of cause and effect, which governs the actions of both humans and gods. Karma teaches that every action, whether good or bad, has consequences, and that individuals are responsible for their actions, both in this life and in future lifetimes. This concept is deeply intertwined with the belief in reincarnation, samsara, where the soul is reborn in different forms until it attains liberation, moksha. Moksha is the ultimate goal of the soul's journey, a state of eternal peace and union with Brahman. The cycle of birth, death, and rebirth is endless, but through righteous living, devotion to the divine, and spiritual practice, one can eventually transcend this cycle and attain liberation. The vast array of gods, goddesses, and heroes in Hindu mythology offer profound reflection of the complexity of life, the world, and the divine. These stories serve not only as religious teachings, but as windows into the deeper truths of existence, exploring the nature of good and evil, the cycles of the cosmos, and the eternal quest for spiritual enlightenment. Hindu mythology teaches that the divine is present in all things and that the ultimate purpose of life is to realize the unity of all existence. The gods and goddesses, with their multifaceted personalities and complex relationships, embody the universal principles that govern creation, preservation, and destruction, reminding us that we are all part of the eternal dance of the cosmos, ever-changing, ever-evolving. In the islands of Japan, where the ancient mountains touch the sky and the tranquil seas lap against its shores, a rich and nuanced mythology has been passed down through generations, shaping the culture, spirituality, and worldview of the Japanese people. Japanese mythology, deeply intertwined with Shinto, the indigenous religion of Japan, reflects a profound respect the Japanese hold for nature, ancestors, and the divine forces that shape the world. At the heart of this mythology is a concept of kami, the divine spirits or gods that inhabit not only the heavens and earth, but also the elements of nature, such as trees, rivers, mountains, and even certain objects. Kami are believed to reside in every part of the world, and the presence of the sacred is not confined to temples, but can be found in the most ordinary of things, imbuing the entire landscape with divine meaning. The creation story of Japan is told in the ancient text Kojiki, Records of Ancient Matters, and Nihon Shoki, Chronicles of Japan, which chronicle the origins of the Japanese islands and their deities. According to these texts, the world began in a formless, chaotic state, where the first gods, known as the Kotoame Tsukumi, emerged. These early deities existed in a pure, unformed realm, and eventually gave rise to the more familiar gods of the Japanese pantheon. The most significant of these early deities were Izanagi and Izanami, the divine couple tasked with creating the world. Izanagi and Izanami, using a heavenly spear, stirred the primordial ocean, and as the spear lifted, drops of water fell, forming the first landmass, the island of Onagoro. They descended to this new land, where Izanami gave birth to the first gods and goddesses of the Japanese pantheon. However, their creation story takes a dark turn when Izanami dies after giving birth to the fire god, Kagutsuchi. Devastated by her loss, Izanagi travels to the underworld, Yomi, to retrieve her, but he is forced to leave when he sees her in a decayed state, and they are forever separated. This myth encapsulates themes of life, death, and separation, reflecting the inevitable cycle of existence. Izanami's death also marks the first introduction of the underworld and the afterlife in Japanese mythology. From this union and tragedy came a new generation of gods, the most important of whom were Amaterasu, the sun goddess, Tsukuyomi, the moon god, and Susanoo, the storm god. These three deities are often referred to as the three noble children and represent the central elements of the cosmos, the sun, the moon, and the storm, embodying the harmony of nature and the balance between opposing forces. The myth of these three siblings reflects the fundamental belief in the interconnectedness of all things in the universe and the delicate balance required to maintain cosmic harmony. Amaterasu, the sun goddess, is perhaps the most revered of all the kami. Her story is central to the Japanese mythological tradition, and she is regarded as the ancestor of the imperial family, with the Emperor of Japan considered her direct descendant. The myth of Amaterasu's retreat into the cave is one of the most famous in Japanese mythology. After a conflict with her brother Susanoo, the storm god, Amaterasu becomes so upset that she hides herself in a cave, plunging the world into darkness. The other gods, desperate to restore light to the world, gather outside the cave and use various methods to coax her out. The goddess, upon hearing laughter and seeing her reflection in a mirror, steps out, bringing light back to the world. This myth symbolizes the importance of balance between the forces of light and darkness, creation and destruction. It also represents a role of the emperor in bringing harmony and prosperity to the nation, as the emperor is believed to embody the divine light of Amaterasu. Tsukuyomi, the moon god, is a counterpart to Amaterasu, representing the silent, reflective, and sometimes elusive forces of the night. Tsukuyomi's role in Japanese mythology is often quieter and more enigmatic, and his relationship with his sister Amaterasu is marked by a myth of discord. In this tale, Tsukuyomi is invited to a feast held by Amaterasu, but he becomes enraged when he witnesses the goddess Yukmachi, the goddess of food, producing food in an unpleasant manner. In a fit of anger, Tsukuyomi kills Yukmachi, which causes Amaterasu to become so upset that she disowns her brother, banishing him to the night sky. This myth highlights the tension between opposing forces, light and dark, day and night, and the need for balance in the cosmic order. Susanoo, the storm god, is both a trickster and a hero. His actions are often unpredictable, ranging from mischief to acts of great bravery. One of the most famous stories about Susanoo involves his journey to defeat the eight-headed serpent Orochi. The serpent had been terrorizing the land, and Susanoo, with the help of the goddess of sake, Tsukuyomi's counterpart, traps the beast by getting it drunk on sake before cutting it into pieces. Susanoo's triumph over Orochi is symbolic of the victory of order over chaos, light over darkness, and the restoration of balance in the natural world. The relationship between these gods and their mythological actions illustrates the deep connection the Japanese people feel with nature. Kami are not seen as distant deities, but as beings who are intimately connected to the world and its natural cycles. This is evident in the reverence for natural places such as mountains, rivers, and forests, which are believed to be the abodes of Kami. The sacred Mount Fuji, for example, is considered the dwelling place of the goddess Konohanatsukime, who is associated with the beauty of flowers and the delicate nature of life. Many Shinto shrines are built in natural settings, often at the base of mountains or near rivers, to honor the kami who are believed to inhabit those spaces. Shinto rituals and festivals, which are deeply rooted in the mythology of Japan, are performed to honor the kami and maintain harmony between the human and divine worlds. These rituals, whether held at a local shrine or during a larger national celebration, are designed to purify, renew, and connect individuals to the divine forces that govern the world. One of the most well-known Shinto festivals is the New Year celebration, during which families visit shrines to offer prayers, make offerings, and seek blessings for the year ahead. The practice of honoring the ancestors through rituals is also central to Japanese spirituality, with the belief that the spirits of the dead continue to play an active role in the lives of the living. The importance of ancestors in Japanese mythology is evident in the belief that spirits of the deceased continue to guide and protect their descendants. This idea is reinforced through rituals such as Obon, a festival that honors the spirits of the dead. During Obon, it is believed that the spirits of ancestors return to visit their families, and offerings of food and incense are made to welcome them. This practice underscores the cyclical nature of life and death in Japanese mythology, where the connection between the living and the dead is never severed. One of the central themes in Japanese mythology is the idea of wa, harmony. The gods, kami, and humans are all part of a delicate and interconnected system, and maintaining balance and harmony within this system is paramount. This belief in harmony extends not only to the relationship between the human and divine realms, but also to the relationships between humans, nature, and the environment. The Shinto reverence for nature reflects the belief that humans should live in harmony with the natural world, respecting the forces of nature and the kami that reside within it. In Japanese mythology, the cycles of nature are deeply tied to the actions of the gods, and the seasons themselves are imbued with divine significance. The changing of the seasons is seen as a reflection of the eternal dance between life and death, creation and destruction. As the cherry blossoms bloom in spring, and the leaves turn golden in autumn, the Japanese people are reminded of the impermanence of life and the importance of living in tune with the natural world. Through its stories, deities, and rituals, Japanese mythology teaches that the divine is not a distant force, but a living presence in the world around us. The kami are not just figures to be worshipped from afar, but are integral to the ongoing processes of creation and transformation. They embody the natural forces that govern the world and remind us of the beauty, power, and impermanence of the universe. Japanese mythology calls for a deep respect for nature, an understanding of the cyclical nature of existence, and an appreciation for the divine forces that shape the world. In the far northern lands of Scandinavia, where the skies are often cloaked in a misty gloom and the forests are deep and untamed, Norse mythology takes root. It is a mythology filled with tales of gods and giants, heroes and monsters, and the eternal struggle between order and chaos. Rooted in the ancient traditions of the Norse people, this mythology is one of the most vivid and enduring in the world, exploring themes of fate, heroism, and the inevitability of death and rebirth. Central to Norse mythology is the understanding of a cyclical cosmos, one that is constantly shifting between creation and destruction, with gods and mortals alike bound by the unyielding threads of fate. At the heart of Norse mythology are the gods of Asgard, who dwell in the realm of Asgard, one of the 9 worlds that form the cosmic tree of life, Yggdrasil. Yggdrasil is a massive, sacred ash tree that connects the 9 worlds, from the highest heavens to the deepest realms of the dead. These worlds represent different aspects of existence, and their balance is maintained by the gods, who play key roles in shaping the cosmos. The gods themselves belong to 2 main families, the Aesir and the Vanir. The Aesir are the warrior gods, associated with power, justice, and order, while the Vanir are gods of fertility, nature, and wisdom. The 2 families are united after a war that ends in peace, symbolizing the reconciliation of opposing forces in the universe. The chief of the Aesir gods is Odin, the All-Father, ruler of Asgard and the god of wisdom, war, and poetry. Odin is a complex figure, embodying both the harshness of battle and the subtlety of wisdom. He sacrificed one of his eyes in exchange for knowledge, and he is constantly in search of deeper understanding, often consulting the wise well of Mimir and seeking knowledge from runes. Odin is a god of paradox. He is a bringer of war and death, yet he is also a god of poetry, creativity, and learning. His quest for wisdom and his willingness to sacrifice for it reflect the Norse belief that knowledge, while powerful, often comes at great cost. Alongside Odin is his son Thor, the thunder god, known for his immense strength and his unyielding defense of both gods and mortals. Thor wields a mighty hammer Mjolnir, which has the power to strike down giants, the enemies of the gods. Thor is the archetype of the heroic warrior, brave, steadfast, and driven by a sense of duty. However, unlike Odin, who seeks wisdom through sacrifice, Thor's strength is rooted in action and bravery. His battles with the giants reflect the eternal struggle between order and chaos, as Thor fights to protect the world from those who seek to bring destruction. Despite his formidable power, Thor is often depicted with a certain warmth and humanity, embodying the virtues of loyalty, courage, and protection of the innocent. Loki, another central figure in Norse mythology, is both a companion and adversary to the gods. Loki is a trickster god, known for his cunning and shape-shifting abilities. While Loki often helps the gods with his cleverness, his actions also lead to many challenges and problems for them. One of the most notable myths involving Loki is his role in the death of Balder, the beloved son of Odin and Frigg. Loki, jealous of Balder's goodness and the love he received from the gods, tricks the blind god Hod into killing Balder with a mistletoe dart, leading to Balder's death and setting in motion the events that will eventually bring about Ragnarok, the end of the world. The story of Balder's death is central to the Norse understanding of fate and the inescapability of death. Balder's death, along with Loki's betrayal, signals the impending arrival of Ragnarok, the final battle between the gods and the forces of chaos. In this battle, many of the gods will fall, and the world will be destroyed, only to be reborn again. This cyclical view of the cosmos, where creation and destruction are part of an eternal cycle, permeates all of Norse mythology. It is not a mythology of eternal victory or defeat, but one that embraces the inevitability of death and the hope of rebirth. Ragnarok is a prophesied event that will bring about the destruction of the gods and the world. In this battle, the gods will face off against the giants, led by Loki, who has turned against them. Thor will battle the serpent Jormungandr, the Midgard serpent, and Odin will face the wolf Fenrir. Ultimately, the gods will be defeated, and the world will be consumed by fire and water. However, after the destruction, a new world will rise from the ashes, a world of peace and prosperity, where the surviving gods and a new generation of humans will live in harmony. This idea of death leading to rebirth is a key theme in Norse mythology, reflecting the cyclical nature of life itself. One of the most important aspects of Norse mythology is the relationship between humans and the gods. While the gods are powerful and immortal, they're also deeply concerned with the fate of mortals. The gods often intervene in the lives of humans, helping them in times of need or punishing them for their misdeeds. However, the gods also recognize that mortals are bound by fate, and their lives are subject to the whims of the Norns, the three sisters who control destiny. The Norns read the fates of all beings, gods and mortals alike, and their decisions are final. Even the gods cannot escape their fate, which reflects the Norse belief in the inescapability of destiny and the importance of accepting one's fate with courage and honor. The Norns, along with other figures such as the Valkyries, play a significant role in the Norse worldview. The Valkyries are warrior maidens who serve Odin, choosing which warriors will die in battle and which will be taken to Valhalla, Odin's Hall of the Slain. Those who are chosen to enter Valhalla are honored and are trained to fight in the final battle of Ragnarok. The Valkyries symbolize the idea of fate and the honor of battle. To die heroically in battle and be chosen by the Valkyries to join Odin in Valhalla is the ultimate honor for a warrior in Norse mythology. The importance of honor and bravery in battle is a recurring theme in Norse mythology. The Norse people held great respect for warriors who fought courageously and lived with honor. The sagas of the Viking Age are filled with stories of great heroes who face impossible odds and fight with all their strength and skill. These heroes are not only warriors, but they are also leaders, wise men, and individuals who understand the importance of their actions in shaping the world. Through their stories, Norse mythology teaches the value of courage, loyalty, and honor in the face of overwhelming challenges. The 9 worlds, which are connected by Yggdrasil, represent different realms of existence, each with its own unique qualities. These worlds include Asgard, the home of the gods, Midgard, the world of humans, Jotunheim, the realm of the giants, Vanaheim, the world of the Vanir gods, Alfheim, the realm of the light elves, Svartalfheim, the realm of the dark elves, Nidavellir, the home of the dwarves, Muspelheim, the realm of fire, and Niflheim, the realm of ice. These realms are interconnected, and the actions of the gods and mortals in one world often affect the others. The balance between these worlds is essential to maintaining harmony in the cosmos, and the collapse of this balance in Ragnarok is what leads to the ultimate destruction and rebirth of the world. The gods of Norse mythology, with their strengths and flaws, embody the human condition, facing challenges, making sacrifices, and navigating the inevitable forces of fate. They live in a world where even the mightiest of beings are bound by destiny, where heroism and wisdom are tempered by the knowledge that death is an inescapable part of existence. Norse mythology, with its tales of battles, gods, and cosmic cycles, reflects the deep understanding of the impermanence of life and the importance of living with honor and courage, no matter what fate may bring. In the end, it is this eternal struggle between creation, destruction, and rebirth that makes Norse mythology both timeless and profoundly human.